now that we talked about so much positive around the program at Fisk and what I would see as an outsider as being an enormous success of a ton of pressure on you and the girls on the team, but also at the same time, you are getting all this press coverage. You are inspiring this next generation of young Black gymnasts. Now I hear you've graduated and there's recent news that Fisk is cutting their program, and it's just mind blowing to feel like there was this huge trailblazing movement and now it's disappearing. And would just love, if you could speak a little to what your first thought on hearing that news was, not just as an athlete, but really as a young Black woman who helped to build and solidify this legacy.
I've been waiting for this question. I took notes actually. So first of all, I absolutely love my institution. My school, Fisk University, I needed that school. I really did, because I was a COVID graduate. I went to school. Everything was a mess. I had to leave. Went to another school. I was fine there, but I knew I wanted more for myself. This started the gymnastics team, which gave me the opportunity to go to an HBCU. I always wanted to go to an HBCU, and I couldn't, because I knew that since it was on gymnastics teams at the time, it was either go to HBCU, quit gymnastics after doing it for all this time, and you've worked so hard for it to get where you are, or go somewhere else that has gymnastics just so you can still live out your dream of being a college gymnast. And I chose to go somewhere else so I could live out my dream. And Fisk started the gymnastics team, and I gave me the chance to finally go to an HBCU and be around people that look like me all the time and really get to experience HBCU culture, which I feel like is the best thing ever in the whole world. I got to see the majorettes in the band, and I got to go to homecoming games, and that was really, I needed that. I really needed that. And it's weird because it's like I have so much love for my school, but at the same time, I feel like they do really dumb decisions and they make really unfortunate decisions. And I have been calling them out on it a lot. I don't think they like it. They unfollowed me on Instagram. Like, the school used to follow me. They unfollowed me on Instagram. Yeah, crazy. It's like, it's not really the school itself, because, like, there's so much history behind the institution and everything. It's really the people in control of those decisions that I'm mostly mad at. But I don't know their Instagram handle, so I just tagged the school. But first of all, the way it was announced really made me upset, because I've graduated. I think me and 4 or 5 other girls graduated. So we didn't know anything. I found out, I'll never forget, I was in Planet Fitness doing my workouts. So I'm still trying to work out, I'm doing gymnastics, but I still got to stay fit. So I was working out, and I got a text from one of my teammates, and she was like, "It's done. It's over. It's over." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm kind of like, I'm like the mom sometimes for some of my teammates. Yeah. So they'll come to me with stuff. I was just like, "You're overreacting." So I thought it was just one of those, like, "What did you do now? Overreacting." Like, I thought it was about school or some boy, like, who knows. And she was just like, "No, they're getting rid of gymnastics. They're cutting Fisk gymnastics." And I was like, what are you talking about? So immediately I stopped what I was doing, and I started texting and calling people, and I was like, what is going on? Finally figure out what happened. So the AD had set up a meeting with the girls that were still currently on the team. Not the people that graduated, because we already graduated. Cool. But she basically said, like, hey, it's the coach, actually. The current coach now told them the AD wants a meeting. She was like, in the next 20 minutes, the AD wants a meeting with you guys. Mind you, it's summer, middle of summer. So people are, like, at camps. People are coaching. People are training. Some people are summer school. In the middle of the day, you're just like, 20 minutes, the AD wants to talk to you. No conversation. So only a few of the girls got on that call because they were the only ones that were available. And the AD basically told them, yeah, so we're getting rid of Fisk gymnastics. Oh, my goodness. It was crazy because the reason that they gave did not make sense, did not line up with any actual facts. So they get off, and then they tell me, and then they tell Kiara, one of my other teammates that graduated, and then we all go into the group chat, and they're telling the group chat, like, hey, they're cutting Fisk gymnastics. And a lot of the girls that were still on the team didn't know, because they weren't able to be on that call that they said, hey, in 20 minutes, get on this call. And they're like, what, did they say why? And they're like, no, they're talking about it has to do with, like, conference and this and that has to do with this. And they're like, what? So they didn't announce it yet to the public. I wanted to announce it to the public. But some of my teammates were like, Naimah, no, like, just wait. Don't do anything. We have to wait until the school says something. And literally, like, I think not even an hour later, the school did say something. They released a statement, but they released it through email, just to the people that had, like, the Fisk email. So I still have my Fisk email activated. I hope they don't deactivate it. But I still have my school email activated, so I was able to see the email. So they sent it out just school-wide. and they weren't going to send it out to anyone else, like the press and media, until the next day. I got the email, read the email, immediately went on my Instagram and said, okay, Instagram Live, we're going to talk about this. Get on my live, and a bunch of people start joining because they want to know the tea, because it was mostly people from Fisk, from the school, because they got the email and they want to know what's going on. Mm-hmm. So I read it out, but a lot of people also on that live did not know about it because they didn't send it out yet. So I prematurely announced it before the school announced it, which forced them to announce. I did. I think All Things Gym Pod, like the gymnastics podcast, I think I told them, I DM'd them personally and say, hey, get on this live at this time because I'm going to say something that y'all need to know. And then they tweeted out, hey, Naimah Muhammad went on live and said Fisk Gymnastics is over. The same thing for College Gym News. They were like, hey, is this true? I was like, yeah, this is true. Tell everyone. So after a few days, it kind of blew up and everyone was like, what? Why are they getting rid of Fisk Gymnastics? The alumni were so upset because our alumni are like the best alumni ever. Every single competition that they could go to, they would go to. They would donate to us. They would host like little meet and greets for us to get to know the alumni. And the alumni personally, to me, like, have helped me get through school in such a profound way. When I graduated and I walked the stage, all the alumni were like, "Nice, over here." They're taking pictures of me like I was their child. Like they took care of me when I was in school. So they were so upset, and I felt like they deserved answers also. So I started tagging the school. I don't know everyone's handle, so I'm just tagging at Fisk University, to the point where they unfollow me. So, but it got to the point where the president decided to make a webinar and talk about why they're getting rid of gymnastics. And then they posted like a Q&A on the school's website. And then I went on live again after watching the webinar and reading the Q&A and debunked everything that she said about the gymnastics team. And I think I posted it on my live too. So the reasons that they're giving don't really make sense. They're basically saying, like, they gave a lot of excuses. First, they were like, oh, well, we don't have a facility for them. They need a gym, which we would love a gym, but we understand we don't really have the space or funds for it right now. And then she threw out this like huge figure of like $25 to $30 million. And I was like, we were just trying to raise like $2 million to get a gym. Like we did not say anything about 25 to 30 mil. So that's not true. And then it was a whole other thing of, we just, like, they said it wasn't a financial issue, but all the reasons she was giving, it was like, okay, that's a financial issue. And then it had to do with conference, because we're not in the same conference they're in. HBCU gymnastics is a very new thing. So it was us, Talladega, Wilberforce. Talladega got their program cut after a year. Still don't understand why, but they were actually amazing, and they had a bunch of All-Americans and national champions and whatever. So it's cool, though. A lot of them transferred, and they're doing great now. But they got rid of Talladega, and it was just us and Wilberforce. And then they're cutting Fisk. So now it's just Wilberforce as the HBCU. But the excuse is, oh, we don't have any other HBCU gymnastics teams in this conference. And it's like, well, no, duh. We knew that going into it. That was kind of the whole point of starting HBCU gymnastics. So then it would have been great if we had Fisk, Talladega, Wilberforce all in one competition, or at another school, and all of us could have our own competition to compete and be in the same conference. But HBCU gymnastics is a new concept. It's a new idea. It's not something that's been happening forever. So we knew going into this, we don't have a conference. That's why we go to all these NCAA meets and stuff like that. Then she said something about how, they can't do any home meets because they don't have a place to do the competitions. That's why they're always traveling. I'm like, what? We always travel because all gymnastics teams travel. What are you talking about? Every reason that they were giving, and I can't even think of all of the reasons they gave because it just made me so mad. But it's all on their website. If you look like gymnastics Q&A, it's all on the Fisk University website. So they gave their reasons. A lot of them aren't true, or it's just an excuse. And it really hurts because it almost feels like all the blood, sweat, tears, pressure was not worth it. It wasn't worth it. It wasn't important enough. It feels like they did this thing just to say they made history, but they didn't really want to maintain it. And she even admitted in one of the webinar questions, like, they didn't have a long-term plan to maintain a gymnastics team. So, and it sucks because it's like, it kind of felt like they were discrediting everything that we did. A lot of people that are at our school still, or that like recently graduated, they're like, the gymnastics team was the best thing at Fisk. What are we talking about? We don't have a football team at Fisk. We have a basketball team. We have volleyball, stuff like that. Gymnastics was kind of like the football team, in the sense of like, football is really what brings money into the school, and it's like that's the big thing that everyone wants to go see. So that's what gymnastics was. And they kind of discredit it and make it seem like we're just some passing thing in history. And it's like, that's a big thing. We are history, but also it's something that we want to continue. We don't want this to just be keep making history and it's over. It's like we want this to be a present thing, a future thing. And if you're not willing to invest in us and really show that you care, then why do that? And I think what really, really made me upset the most, we were having a meeting with the AD before all this happened. Mm-hmm. I had a meeting with her, and then we had a meeting as a team with her, just because we had some issues going on leadership-wise that we wanted addressed. And we expressed to her, like, we were nervous that us speaking out and us talking was going to get our program cut, because we always would hear, like, if you keep complaining, your program's going to get cut, whatever. And she was like, we would never get rid of gymnastics. We love gymnastics. The president loves gymnastics. Like, we're not going to cut gymnastics. Couple months later, they cut gymnastics. So that really made me irritated, because it's like we can't even go to you and come to you in a safe space without feeling like it's going to get taken away from us. Now, I'm not saying that because we said anything, that's why they cut it. But I am saying it's very convenient that that's how that happened. So it's sad. It's annoying. I've been doing my best to reach out to alumni, to different organizations. I have been doing all I can, talking and reaching out to the news. The news does the interview and stuff, and I'm just doing everything I can to make people realize, like, okay, if we can't save Fisk Gymnastics for whatever reason, if they're stuck on not trying to help Fisk Gymnastics, fine. I don't want them to take away Wilberforce or any other future HBCU that wants to start a gymnastics team. I would hate for that to happen. What are you doing? So focus is now. And it's sad because I feel like Fisk Gymnastics did a lot for me and did a lot for these girls. But if they're not going to try to save it, then I'm going to make it my mission to save all other aspects of HBCU gymnastics. If we can't save this, we're going to make sure Wilberforce doesn't go down, and we're going to make sure other HBCUs, especially the ones with more money and the bigger ones, like the Howards and the FAMUs, make sure that, you know, okay, they can keep HBCU gymnastics going. And Wilberforce president already released a statement. He posted it on his Instagram and stuff that Wilberforce is not getting rid of the gymnastics thing because they love gymnastics. They're going to do everything they can to learn more about it and keep it running. And I appreciate that because it's like they still care. I feel like the way Fisk kind of approached the end of our gymnastics team just really showed they didn't care. And I didn't appreciate that. So yeah, I don't know. They do weird stuff. Love my school, love my alma mater, but that was crazy.
It sounds like such a complicated relationship, and I really appreciate, as an athlete, you giving a voice and being willing to put yourself out there and share the athlete perspective, because these decisions get made at administrative levels a lot of times for reasons that we don't understand. I've heard of lots of different schools cutting various programs for funding reasons, for other conference-related reasons, and I think it's so important to highlight the athlete experience in all of this, and that, you know, at the end of the day, these are programs that fundamentally shape who we are as people. Athletics is an incredible form of developing leadership, developing lifelong friendships, of really shaping who we are as we go out into the world and become leaders in whatever it is that we do, and become citizens of the world. And so making sure that those perspectives are heard, and that people understand, you know, at the ground level, what value these programs have on people's lives, the impact they have. I know you say that it felt like everything that you did had no value, and I know that maybe that's how, you know, the way that things were announced made you feel, but certainly as not how I believe fans saw you, not how I believe the community saw you, for sure. So
yeah, that's a good thing.
Made a lasting impact at a kind of community and grassroots level, and at a national level as well. And so really excited to hear and see you continue fighting the fight, keeping other programs alive. And it's by raising your voice that other universities are, you know, put in position where they feel like maybe they have to commit to keeping a program or have to be vocal about what they're going to do. So it's tough to speak out as an athlete. It's very scary. And so really appreciate you being honest about how you felt about the program and where you think you can have an impact. And I'm really excited for, you know, seeing you continue to have an impact beyond your time as a gymnast, and actually making sure that we are ensuring that we continue to fund and support gymnastics and young Black gymnasts, and encourage like you said, the sport to grow at the developmental level. We see these superstars that kind of, I think, sometimes make us think that that's what gymnastics looks like at every level. And I think it's so important to keep
Yeah.
the message out there that we are not there yet. There's so much more work to be done, and you're clearly doing the hard work. And just let's, help us understand how can we as Generation Sport, as a community, help to continue to uplift gymnastics. What can we do to support you in your endeavors and gymnastics as a whole?
Yes, thank you. See, I'm always too loud, but it counts now. It
No,
matters. It's a good thing.
it's important. It's
Use
all,
your
I feel like
voice.
it's all full circle. Like this is how you are creating your own impact in the world. Hmm. Okay, I know we're right at time. Do you have a minute for one more question? Okay, I would love to hear. I'm seeing all over socials that you are coaching. Distill for me, what did you learn in your career in gymnastics, and how are you approaching your own coaching practice, the same way, differently, to uplift that next generation of young women? Everything you've learned, your advocacy, your own experience as a gymnast in this absolute pressure cooker of a situation, how does that shape how you are bringing up that next generation of girls?
I hope I have time because this is a very loaded question and there's a
Okay.
lot I want to say. But okay, so I've been coaching for a while. I
Mm,
would coach at my home gym. I feel like every gymnast they coach kind of at their club gym before they go to college or in between and stuff like that. So I have been coaching like younger girls when I was at home. When I got to college, kind of the same thing. I started coaching a little bit with Brown Girls Do Gymnastics. There's this organization that really helped bring awareness to starting HBCU gymnastics, but also their big focus is on showing representation of different Black and brown girls in gymnastics and giving them a space to come together, learn from the best of the best and apply that training, give them a space where they feel seen. So I went to a few of the brown girls clinics, like the camps or the conferences, and helped out, coach a little bit here and there. And it was really there where I started to feel like, okay, maybe I can start coaching for real. Because I would go to these conferences and clinics with these young girls and they would just soak it up, eat it up. And it made me feel good knowing that they felt good. So I was like, okay, maybe, I don't know, maybe this is something I could do. But, coaching is something that you want to be very careful with because you can be a really good coach or you can be a really bad coach. And I'm
mm,
scared of not being a really good coach. So I've had some really amazing coaches in JO. That's like they don't call it JO anymore. They call it like developmental program. But
okay.
it used to be called JO, like levels 1 to 10. That was JO. So I'm gonna still call it JO. It stands for Junior Olympics. But I had amazing JO coaches. When I got to college, I've had college coaches with the exception of one. And I would say this one coach, and I'm never saying names because I don't like giving power where there's no power to be given. But this one coach in particular really changed my outlook on what coaching is and what it isn't.
Mm,
And it really affected me, particularly in this last season of competition. And it kind of made me think like, if I ever decide to get into coaching, I never want to be that type of coach. And I never want to make gymnasts feel like how I feel now because of a coach like that. And I always, I've been slowly kind of sort of like hinting at it through my
mm,
social media. And most people know exactly who I'm talking about because they've had encounters with this person. But just there's ways you should behave as a coach that are appropriate and that are professional, and there's ways that you do that are inappropriate and unprofessional, and ways that you do it that can hurt an athlete. And this coach in particular, I'm just gonna say, completely ruined my senior year of gymnastics. Is partially the reason why I retired early. Just because she had a vendetta against me. If you asked her, she would say, no, I had no problems with her. But she would talk about me behind my back to other athletes, sometimes to other staff and coaches, would blatantly outright say, like, I'm not competing her. I'm not going to let her compete anyway. I don't care. And would never really give a reason why. She wouldn't talk to me or coach me. My teammates, I have the best teammates ever. Like they would literally have to coach me sometimes. Like I would be struggling like mentally and whatever on an event and she wouldn't even help me. She would go coach her favorites or stuff like that. So I had some teammates that would literally stop their workout, stop what they're doing, or from the chalk bucket be like, hey, like, oh my God, Kiara is like my best friend ever. He would be in the chalk bucket being like, hey, get your toes up and your double, whatever. Like, she would actually be there in the middle of her workout helping me. And I just really had a negative experience with this coach because everything that she did would be borderline like safe sport violation, borderline abusive, borderline wrong. Like, you shouldn't talk to your athletes or punish athletes for any reason that's like that. Like, I remember, I'm not even getting into that, but there are a lot of situations with
There's a
her
lot of
that are
stories, huh?
there's a lot
Yeah.
of stories, but there's a lot
Mhm.
of situations with her that are just downright wrong, and you shouldn't be saying to your athletes or talking about your athletes whatsoever. And I know that she has said and talked negatively about me in particular, whatever reasons that she has. So when I do, now that I've graduated and I'm done and it's over with, it's like I I want to be a coach that uplifts gymnasts, because I feel like sometimes coaches, if you were a gymnast, I've had a coach in JO that he didn't know gymnastics at all. He was a football coach, and he came and gave us vault training, and we had like the best vaults ever because he would, use what he knew from football to help train us for speed and endurance on vault. But if you particularly are a coach that has gymnastics background, I think there is a way you should coach and a way you should approach a gymnast, because sometimes coaches will take their experiences that they've had when they were in college gymnastics and take that out on the girls that they currently coach. And I think partially that's probably what her problem was that she didn't have the best coaching, or maybe she had some issues at her college gym when she was in college, and she just took it out and did the same negative things to us. And that's not okay. I feel like when you're a coach, you should really think about the positives and the negatives that you had when you were being coached. And if the positives worked, reinforce those positives. If the negatives did not work, don't bring that over here. Take that out. I think my way of approaching coaching is, and I just retired. It's not like I've been retired for 4 years. I've been retired barely 4 months. I've freshly retired. But some of the girls that I am coaching, they are like, they're still JO. They're not college level, but they want to get to college level. So with my experience, I can tell them based on how it is in college, what they do need, what they don't need, if they're on track or they're not on track. And I also can relate to them. And because I just retired. So I can tell them like, hey, think of it like this. Because when I was doing that skill, that didn't make sense for me either. Like, I can understand when they say like, this is confusing, I don't get this, or I don't know why it's not working. I understand those frustrations because I most recently had those frustrations. Like, I don't get what I need to do. So it's like, okay, well, this way didn't work when I was trying to think of doing that skill. So try thinking about the skill this way, because that might help. Just changing the language. And sometimes it clicks instantly for them. Like these past couple weekends, I want to say I was in Atlanta and I was at a gymnastics camp. And it was like me and a bunch of other like college gymnasts and stuff like that. And this one gymnastics team came, and their coach, I love their coach so much, Coach Sequoia. She's the coach for Champion Mindset Gymnastics. Her girls, she's like the sole coach for them. Like, she is the one coach for all those girls, and they are so incredible. They are doing skills I have never seen. Like, this one girl, she's 14. Another girl, Trinity, she's 15. Oh, my dog's barking. But they're like 14, 15 years old in level 9, level 10, and they're doing skills that I'm like, I don't think you understand. Trinity Thomas does that skill and didn't compete it. Like, just crazy stuff like that. Like, they're just so good. But she was like, I don't know what it is, but I just feel like I can't talk to them. I can't get them to understand the skill. So then when I get these girls and I coach them, and I'm like, okay, this doesn't work. Think about it like this, because I understand how this could be confusing. You sometimes got to change language. And then they'll do it, and the coach is just like, I don't get it. Like, I don't, like, thank you so much. I don't understand, like, how to make them do that. So then I'll tell her, like, okay, you got to think of it like this, because sometimes, when you're a young gymnast, you get confused very easily because you're just doing these skills. And then once you get older, you really got to start to understand how to rework your body sometimes. So just, there's different ways that you can approach different gymnasts. Not every two gymnasts are the same. What might work for one isn't going to work for the other. I did vault for all of JO. I never did Yurchenko's. I tried a Yurchenko a couple of times, stopped because I hated it and I was bad at it. I couldn't do it. So I did Sukes all the time. And I think sometimes college coaches think every gymnast has to be the same. Everyone needs to do Yurchenko. Everyone needs to do a back handspring layout, step out on beam. Everyone needs to have this on floor. The coach I spoke about previously, my worst coach I've ever had in college, literally would not let me compete unless I did my front pass. My front pass, I did front handspring, front full, front layout. And I did round up and handspring double tuck. Easy. It worked for like the first 2 years. The first year, it was great. The second year, I started to struggle on it a lot. And then by the third year, I just had a complete mental block on the scale. I just could not do it anymore. And it's like, I'm getting older. You know, I physically could not do that front pass anymore. But she was like, well, if you don't get this front pass, I'm not going to let you compete. And it was really stressful on me because it's like, well, I physically can't. So like, what are my other options? What are the other skills I can do? And she wasn't really willing to give me other options. So my other coach, actually was the one that went to me and was like, okay, so let's think about this. Like, what are some things that we can do to change around? Because gymnastics, she reminds me all the time, gymnastics is about playing. You can play around. Like, not everyone does Yurchenko, not everyone does this, not everyone has this skill. So how can you still find the same start value, still start like where you need to start, but have something different so then it can make it easier for you. So she gave me a new pass of front through, front handspring, front full to start, and then we'll switch it to a 1.5. And that worked. Like, just switching around the front handspring and adding a front tuck in front of it, it really helped. I felt more confident on it, and I was like, okay, this is something that could work.
Yeah.
And we brought it to her attention, and she was just like, no. I still trained it anyway, and I think that made her even more upset. I still trained it because I knew this new pass was better than my old pass, and I knew this was something that was going to help me. And if I didn't have my other coach come to me and give me other options, I was like, you can do this. Like, you don't have to do that same one. Do what makes you comfortable. Then I don't think I would have been able to survive the rest of the season. Like, I was already like this close to being done. So now when I'm coaching girls, if they aren't able to do this one skill, if they can't get this or they're struggling a mental block on this, I'm like, okay, have you tried this skill? And they're like, I can do that. I'm like, yeah, you can. You don't have to be like everybody else. You don't have to have all the same skills. If you feel more comfortable going backwards, go backwards. If you are a front girl, if you like going forwards, go forwards. There's so many gymnasts in college, they don't do back tumbling. Brooklyn Moores from UCLA, she just graduated. All her passes were front passes. And the rules of gymnastics are you need to have at least a front and a back pass. So for her back pass, she just does like a round off layout step out. And that counts. That's her back pass. But all her other major tumbling passes are forward. So I coach these younger girls and I'm like, hey, if this doesn't work, if you are having serious mental blocks on it and it's affecting you to the point where you can't even like have a good practice because you're so stuck on this, we can change it. It does not have to be this all the time. Now, sometimes I get girls that like they be flip flopping all the time. Do this, and then I want to do this, and then I want to do this. I'm like, okay, you need to stick to at least one or two. Yeah. Like you're doing a lot right now. You're gonna damage your body doing all that. Knowing that you have options, knowing you don't have to be the same as everyone else, and being able to give them real examples in real time, whether it's my experience or other gymnast experiences, like a Brooklyn Moore's, like, hey, I had a girl that was like, she's really good going forwards, backwards freaks her out, but she was getting hard on herself, but she's like, I can't go backwards, I need to go backwards. I'm like, no, you don't. No, you really don't. And I gave her examples of other gymnasts that only did forward stumbling. And when she got that perspective, it really helped her. So now that I'm coaching and I might continue coaching, I just want to make sure that I've learned from these negative experiences and I take those away. I'm not I don't ever want to be like that type of coach, ever in a million years. So knowing how negatively that was and how much that affected me, now when I'm coaching, I just think, okay, what's the opposite of what she would do? Or I think of like the good coaching that I had, like from Coach T and from other coaches. I'd be like, okay, what are some things that she would do in this situation? Like, what are the positives that I can do to help this girl? Because when you are dealing with young athletes, like, you don't think about how much impact you have. Because when you are in a position of authority and power, sometimes it gets to your head. And I think that it got to her head. So I don't think she really understood the impact that she had on the team, whether positive or negative. So now that I'm in a position where I know I have impact, I know I've had impact since I started, it's like I need to make sure I utilize that in the most positive and necessary way possible. And yeah, that's really it. I don't talk to her. I have her blocked on everything. And my goal now is to eventually say everything that has happened. But for the most part, I want to make sure that coaching like that never occurs anywhere else. And it does not need to. And if I can be a coach that is positive and uplifting and gives girls something to look forward to. I remember coming into practices and being like, it was such like getting up. First of all, we had really early morning practices. Our practices were like 5:30 in the morning. So
That's
yeah,
college student life, 5 a.m.
5 a.m.
practices. That's
practice. So
rough.
I'd have to get up at like 4:30 to get there. But
Mm.
it wasn't like just because I was tired. I would go into practice and dread it and hate it because she would come in and immediately the mood would change. Like she would come in upset or angry about whatever, and I'm like, I get it. It's 4 in the morning. We're all tired, but dang, like you're yelling at us so early in the morning. And to ever be the type of coach where a gymnast come in, they're like, oh, she's here. Like, no, it's gonna be a bad day. And that's how most of our practices would go. We come in, we already know this is gonna be a bad day because she's in a bad mood. Or if she's in a good mood, you don't know if it's gonna change into a bad mood. So it's like walking on eggshells. I don't want to be a coach where you have to walk on eggshells with me. I want to be a coach where if you need help, if you're struggling, you're not scared to come to me and tell me because I'm going to take you out of lineup. No, you're going to come to me and I'm going to be like, okay, let's try to figure this out to help you. And if it doesn't work, okay, we can take you out this week and then work to get you back next week. Or we can try it out this week, see if it works, and if it doesn't, okay, we'll start again. I feel like there's so many healthy ways to be a coach, and a lot of people get the authority and the power, and it just gets to their heads, and they don't know how to do it. So I want to make sure that I am a positive coach, one that can actually listen and help athletes, one who doesn't really necessarily care if they're doing the same thing everyone else is doing. No, I'm more so caring about, are you good? Can you mentally handle this gymnastic skill as well as physically? Because if you physically are out of it, no, if you're mentally out of it, I know physically you gonna hurt yourself. So I'm never gonna put an athlete's mental over, oh, well, you need to just go do that skill. Like, no, okay, take it down a notch. Let's calm down and then let's go. And sometimes you do need a little bit of tough love. You do need a little bit of pushing. You do need to just get up and go sometimes. But that doesn't necessarily mean that every single time you're coaching somebody that you are belittling them and you are mentally hurting them because you want to win. I don't think that ever has a place in coaching. And
Yeah.
I'm working to make sure that I never have to be that type of coach.
Yeah. No, it is. It's really that line between coaches have this incredible responsibility to help athletes be the best that they can be and draw out what they can do and to sometimes provide that confidence that an athlete may not have because they haven't tried something yet. They don't know what their limits are. But then on the flip side, you get, and I've had this experience coaching that is more harmful and is pushing you beyond what you should be doing or is trying to force you into a mold that you don't fit in. So I love the experiences you've gotten in terms of how we look at coaching as it's about coaching the person and the athlete to be the best that they can be, not
Right.
about coaching someone to be what the standard is and to try and meet
Exactly.
a specific standard. And I think
Yeah.
that's a real change I've started to see and a shift I've started to see in
It's
coaching is that,
happening. It really is. I
yeah,
feel like more people are starting to realize, like, hey, you berating and yelling and screaming and cussing at this girl isn't
yeah,
gonna help her. Actually,
it's not a
it's
healthy,
really
yeah.
not healthy at all.
I think
And
it's definitely a more traditional form of coaching that
yeah,
I experienced, as a young athlete and that was really harmful for me, when I was 12, 13, 14 years old and so I appreciate you sharing your personal experience, sharing what you've learned and how you want to help the next generation grow and hopefully someone who hears your story can understand, I'm not the only person who's maybe experienced this and there are other ways of coaching and it's
yeah,
important
and that's my
for
biggest
athletes.
thing. Like, I feel like sometimes, cause like I have been I'm always very careful with how I speak about these experiences because, for one, I know sometimes people like will say these things because sometimes it's like, oh yeah, they just want their 5 seconds of fame, or they this, or people are very quick to like debunk what they're saying or not care. But for me, it's more so like, okay, all these things happen to me, but I don't really care that they happen to me. What I'm more worried about is that this is going to happen to somebody else. And I don't want that to happen to somebody else. And I feel like sometimes it is a little scary to speak out and say the things that
Yeah.
need to be said. But for me, it's less about, okay, take yourself out of it. Like, I'm going to tell you everything that happened to me, but I'm doing that so that other people can feel comfortable speaking up and saying what they need to say so then this doesn't happen again. And I think the more comfortable everyone is speaking their truth, then the better things would be in coaching and other things like that. It's worked for, I know LIU, I know a gymnast from LIU has spoken out. I know there's a gymnast from Utah that has spoken out about their respective coaches. Clemson just had a huge coaching change. because those girls have spoken out, and it is very possible to do the right necessary steps, not just for you, but for the girls that are going to come after you. Because it's like, I'm graduated, I'm done. I don't really need to speak her name or talk about her experience as ever. But because I know that there's other girls that are coming up behind me, I got to make sure that they're good now. So you got to think less about yourself and more so about how this could help impact other gymnasts, because they don't have to deal with negativity like that ever again.
Yeah, and coaching is such a two-way street, right? You need coaches. I feel like sometimes people are like, oh, coaches, they get the final say on everything, but at the same time, athletes, I think we're finally starting to find our voice a bit more and understand that the feedback upwards is how we change the
Yeah.
way that coaching is, and that as an athlete, your experiences are important, they matter, and that you should be able to share that feedback so that we are shaping the next generation of coaches as well, and making sure that people recognize that if something isn't working for you, it's important to speak up and find a way to either change that situation or get yourself into a better one.
Yeah.
And so I think the more athletes that can speak out, the more change happens. So
The more the
thank you.
merrier.
Yes. So thank you for coming on here, sharing your story, being so open with
Absolutely.
us. This is an incredibly rich conversation. There's so many takeaways in terms of learning to bring your full self to sport, how important that representation is, the pressure that can create, and how we're always just learning and adapting and being comfortable in finding our voice as an athlete is just such a big part of the journey. So thank you for coming on here today,
Thank you for
Naimah, and
having me.
speaking with us and sharing us. Yes. It was wonderful having you as a guest. So quickly for our audience, how do we follow you? How do we support you? Where do we find you?
Okay, I really only use 3 forms of social media. I do TikTok, Instagram, and I'm starting YouTube again. I've been doing it for a little bit, but I'm not consistent. I'm trying.
Mhm.
So my Instagram is at it's underscore Naimah 24. My TikTok is at nope, yeah, at it's underscore Nai, and Nai is N-A. And then my YouTube is what is my YouTube? See, I'm not consistent on there. I'm pretty sure my YouTube is Life of Nye or Life of
Cool.
Nye One. You'll see it. It pops up.
We will tag you in all of this, and so anyone who's interested can follow along. And yeah, so excited to see where you go next. I think there's so many pathways ahead of you. Excited to see you continue to champion the voice of athletes and more representation in gymnastics and across all sports. And appreciate you joining me on bright and early on a Saturday morning to have this conversation, and look forward to all that's in store for you.
Thank you so much for having me, and I love everything that you guys are doing. I really, really appreciate it. Like, you guys are you're doing everything, like clothing, and then speaking out, and panels, and then like podcasts and fireside chats. I'm like, wow, they got it all.
We're trying it all. I mean, it's part of it, right? Sports is so multifaceted. It's not just about, the clothes are an aspect of it, feeling comfortable in your body is an aspect of it, feeling like you belong in the culture of sport, or that the culture of sport is changing to accept you. And there's so many pieces of it. Mental health is another one that we barely just scratched the surface of. So lots more conversation topics to be had, but appreciate that it's working for you.